You love to hear it. You love to see it.
Love to see
Hello.
It's always recording in progress. That's the new podcast.
The name of
the game. We have replaced the Matthew with someone different on the video you cannot see, dear podcast.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah, I do voices. It's horrible. You shouldn't have had me back on here.
There we
Joke's
go.
on you. Hello.
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 Oh my gosh. Matt gave us the keys to the kingdom, so we're having our own podcast now.
Joke's on him.
is-
We're having fun.
It's true. It's a runaway train being driven by people who don't know all the buttons that normally make the train go. So
Exactly.
Yes.
buckle up.
This is I was thinking about this earlier today, and that we've been doing those always strikes lates, and I've been very jealous because it's not a time that like is easy for me with the kid to join in. But this is a new one, so this is always strikes high noon.
Yeah, and we discovered that this is not a good time for me with my kid, who is a toddler.
And I don't have kids, so I'm flexible.
This is fair.
But yeah, well, welcome to Always Strikes High Noon. Cue Spanish trumpet, haunting Spanish trumpet, and guitar, whip crack, horse neigh. These are I'm just putting in cues for Matt to put the sound effects in later.
Yeah,
that's true. So Matt, take note. Good homework here for Western style sound effects. Maybe like
get that spaghetti Western.
Yeah, tumbleweed thing. Maybe we get some of those going on here.
I don't know what tumbleweeds sound like, but I want to hear one.
I think he needs to get a visual in for like the for the YouTube.
There you go.
Yeah, we got some options.
There's like a button in Spotify where it is an audio thing, but it like takes over the screen for no reason, just to have a tumbleweed go by.
we definitely need that. And
oh my god.
What we can do is an audio podcast is make sure we use the words partner to describe each other like a
Howdy, partner.
Extensive amount of time today.
How y'all doing out here today?
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, we are doing.
This is actually Always Strikes Last. It's an Age of Sigmar podcast.
Oh wait, we're actually going with the real title. Okay,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Just
okay.
But
we moved on the meaty content from the cold open.
Yeah, exactly. We're welcoming back Rocco once again. Rocco, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's me and Jack holding the fort with Rocco, because Matt is off doing whatever Matt does on his weekends. We don't want to know. He'll tell us about it later.
No, it's a secret.
Mysterious thing.
It's a secret.
Only tells Patreon subscribers. Weird.
Yeah, it's a nuts on the OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. We're already off to a great start. So, Rocco, you had some announcements that you wanted to start off with.
An important announcement, important clarification, maybe even a walk back.
Okay, well, first two things. First, positive. We're gonna do positive, negative, positive. All right, because it's a good way to deliver bad, tough news. All right, positive.
You got to balance the news.
You do. It's been a while, but I have dropped a new YouTube video talking about ListSpot and a free list building service for Age of Sigmar. You can use the app if you don't have if you don't have access to the app, you don't want the paid service. There's a free website, and I throw in some tips and things that I've seen that we're actually going to cover throughout this episode as well. Again, it's geared more towards new players. It's in my Age of Sigmar 101 playlist for 4th edition. It's covering basics. We're going back to basics. It's a new edition. Everyone's a brand new player.
There's new stuff. There's basics to cover.
That short form video. I try to keep them like between, but that one's like a 19-minute video. I try to keep them on the shorter side. A lot of things are like an hour to 3 hours when you watch like all these different channels and all their bat reps and all their things. And I'm like, no, it's just meat and potatoes. Here you are. Boom.
I love that. That website, by the way, is listbot.co.uk.
Yes.
That is the alternative list builder website. That's what we were using before they came out with the app.
Yeah.
That's right. That was like the dark time.
It was a wild.
Yeah.
It was definitely a wild week of my life, you know.
Yeah. All right, then part two. Again, I have to. I'm a man of my word. I have a retraction. Last always strikes late. I brought up when Mason was talking in between his rounds. I said, "Oh, you didn't want to go and smoke cigars and get drunk on hard liquor, dirty liquor, brown liquor, the whole bit." Like some people who may or may not be Jack Ballard, who at a tournament in New Jersey, he went with the locals, and then the next morning he threw up in a potted plant. This is the retraction. He did not throw up in the potted plant in front of me. He threw up in the trash can next to the potted plant. He was hanging over the trash can so much I could not see it when the puke was going and leaving. Just get it out there, all right?
Rocco, I think that's fair. That's a mistake anybody could make, really.
I am blind in one eye.
Yeah,
it's true. I was born that way. Didn't happen. Anything. I didn't peek through a window and see something I shouldn't see and was blinded.
Sometimes you go out on the night of on a GT, a 2-day or something like that, and sometimes you wake up the next day and you're 10% hungover, and sometimes you're 90% hungover, and it sounded like a 90% hungover to me.
That's true. Well, there's the spectrum, right? There's like the ultimate foul of maybe it's 90 or 95, but you just throw in the towel and then you're the drop that day. Or I've never done that, but I think some people have, and that's very clearly
fair.
that has happened.
Listen, you go in there to socialize and have fun. It's what you do. All right.
It's true. But then there's like the competitive problem, right? Of like being that 10 to 80% where you're just not as good.
Hey, listen, Jack is an amazing player, drunk, sober, the whole bit. All right. He's been around the block a few times. Love him. I've been his community manager for the Discord there that Rerolling once had with 2+ Tough. It's still alive. Maybe we can even guilt him into getting some videos back on their channel. I don't know. I
mean, can only hope. I miss their lovingly borrowed Kerbal Space Program music.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They always played. That was fantastic. I mean, not to say anything of the content, which was good too.
Oh yeah.
Well, good intro music is half the battle.
I think so.
Everyone loves a good skit. Anyway, love you, Jack. Miss you.
Likewise, buddy.
You still owe me shit. You need to mail me.
Oh my gosh.
Same.
I seem to recall him making a bet with me that the Bruins would win some hockey match and that he would paint me a vampire or something like that.
Yeah, that's the same bet he made with me. I think he owes us both painted vampire lords. Oh. And I asked him to put mine in Bruins colors.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Nice. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
Someday we may get those, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
No. Listen.
No time pressure when you do listen to this, Jack, but someday we have not forgotten.
No, but I know you listen to this, Jack. I know because you messaged me saying, "Hey, Rocco."
I check the mail weekly. It's like a joy, the anticipation.
I'm like, oh, my good friend Jack Ballard. He's going to go and send me the avatar of Kane from 40K and a bunch of eels. Listen, man, Morsar eels are back.
They are back.
They're scary. I might even talk about them. I don't know.
I think you should, Rocco. I mean, I myself am brimming with like list ideas and just thoughts on the edition after running that tournament yesterday. It's like
go on. How'd you do that? Oh, you
ran it. I ran it. I was doing the combo TO and playing in it because it's very hard to find time anyway. So I kind of had a double dip, but it was good. I mean, we have this amazing space, at TJ's in Milford when we run these one dayers because it's a huge back room completely dedicated to the Warhammer and the 40K. And typically, I can handle 10, 11 tables with space where people put all their stuff on other tables and eat their food or have their drinks. And there's a cafe built into the place. So it's wonderful. And, I have a really good relationship with the guys over there and just a fantastic, well-run space in general. So when we are able to get those together and I can find the time, it tends to be a pretty smooth experience, not elbow to elbow, butts in that kind of situation you sometimes get like in the crowded basement.
It does happen. The crowded basement game does happen.
But tonight, you gotta.
I call that even the standard, really. But this one, well, we end up with 14 players.
Good.
And yeah, and you know how it is. Like you kind of look at the numbers a week before, like, oh, how are we going to be? It's going to be like a 6-player like fun day or more, and it got there pretty quickly. Had a lot of good representation from some really talented players, and across like the region, from Connecticut or from the Wicked Dicey crowd, and it was just fun. I'll say that a couple of the call outs, in terms of folks who end up winning it, our first place guy was a dude named Ben Moley. Really talented players, playing some Skaven, ended up taking that and having a fun time. Our second place guy was actually a fellow up from the Midgard Gaming Club in Soar in New Hampshire, who I'd actually played my last round, and he was playing like Oops All Trolls, Gloomspite, which was quite the experience, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah,
that's fantastic. Love to see it.
Our third, it was real fun. And our third place player was actually a friend and fellow we were talking about last episode, Mason, who was actually the guy who went 7-1 and somehow ended up in 17th place because of weird bracketing just last weekend at the Tacoma Open. And that's Dylan Thoreau. Great dude, very, very talented player. And he was bringing Beasts of Chaos, and I, of course, got to play him round 1, which was fun. Nice. Because we've been talking literally for like half a year about how we were like nemesises and we had to have our final showdown match, and we kept like somehow dodging each other in every matchup, every tournament we happened to get to. But there were a couple early in the year where I won one and he just was like 3rd or 5th or something like that. Then there was another one where we both went 3-0. But he like had a slightly stronger strength of schedule or something. It was like the tiebreaker they used, so he got it, and I was second that time. Sure. And then we finally got to actually play a game. And we walk onto this thing, and we're playing, I think it's not focal points. It's the mission, whatever the one it is, like where it starts with the objectives in the 4 corners, and they progressively go to the center of the board.
The vice.
Yeah. And he's Beast of Chaos. So.
Well.
Yeah. So the funny thing was, I had no idea until Dylan showed me when they're having this fantastic game, like just how strong that like battle pack is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh howdy, because I just hadn't read it. I don't know. I knew it was in the game, but I hadn't said to myself, they're going to be here for a year. Maybe I should look at this. So I was kind of like thumbing through the details as we started the game, and he's telling me all of their cool stuff, and of course, Dylan knows his way around the game board, and so he's found like these incredible synergies, and it was like, wow, these guys are amazing. And of course, trying to figure out how to deal with the far-flung objectives before they do get to the center was a little bit challenging with the Slaves to Darkness mobility. But we had a great time. That was the initial experience for sure.
Sweet.
Yeah, I mean, not all about me though. I mean, everyone's some fun. We end up doing the Vice. We followed that up with everyone playing close to the chest, and we finished the tournament with I think whatever it is, like I'm trying to think of the name of the focal points. That's right. Focal points. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just really interesting kind of spread of missions. I mean, I certainly had a fun run, which I can get into, but on the whole, I think it was a good way to showcase that this edition makes you do a lot of things and prepare for a lot of things, because there's so many missions with so many mechanics that mean mobility is really important. Yeah. But they've actually, I think, cut down dramatically, from what I can tell, on the ability of people to just win by dancing around. You got to fight, and you have to control how those fights go because of the counter charges and the fact that so many of the tactics are tied up with some kind of combat or enemy engagement. I think at least from my count, there's really only 3 you can do without dealing with the enemy. And some of those are really hard to pull off unless you're going first, right? Because it's seize the center. Take the flanks. Or whatever they call it. And it's, the steal an objective in someone's territory or outside of your territory.
Yeah,
but everything else is
still the terrain.
Yeah, still the terrain.
Yeah. That's what it is, yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, those are okay, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I'm thinking of the destruction ones too. Both of those require, getting in.
Oh yeah, it's real tricky. It's real tricky. But I guess I'm jumping all around, so forgive me on that, guys. But
No, no,
back
it
to
was
the tournament
great.
real quick and give you guys the quick rundown. It was awesome. I did not cover myself in glory this time. I played Dylan that first round. It had a nice close hard fought game. It was close to maybe being a tie, but swung the other way for me as the beasts were doing cool stuff and I was learning about them. So we took that one. Second game, played another friend of the channel, a guy named Rye Brooks with this beautiful Lumineth army. Actually ended up winning our best painted.
Nice.
Which I should get some photos up onto the Discord for, but always a pleasure to see it there because he does a great job with that. And that was like a real scary one with Sentinels and their new stuff and some Blade Masters and the Huracan Chargers and Severith and scary, but I took it. Managed to get into the big block of the Sentinels and sort of start getting some control on the board, which gave it to me somewhat handily and soundly. And then the third game was against the guy who took second, Matt Alex. Great dude, and he was playing all trolls, and man, the resilience they exhibit. It was a slogfest, and I think I made a misplay or two, and but still, could have gone either way up until the end, and then he ended up taking that. So great learning games, and kind of feel like I actually have some exposure now to the rule set, which is now kind of forming the basis of those slightly more informed, not just book reading opinions.
Good,
nice.
good.
Are those trolls still like? I haven't looked at them too hard. Are they still like 4-up save, 5-up ward save, heal every hero phase kind of situation?
Yeah, I mean that's what's so deceptive about them. So I guess the stuff which is most pivotal, and this is sort of a thing that I didn't learn until like I went home and I was reading over like the pack again, which is half the battle, right? Is that
wasn't it your pack?
Yeah, like just reading over like the faction pack or whatever. I'm just thinking.
Oh, okay. I'm like, whoa, we got meta here for a second.
No. You know what I mean? It's like, what are the war scrolls? What are the battle traits? What are the key things making it all work? And I think the big lesson is all trolls are tough, but they're not all equally tough, and it really pays to know those distinctions as well as where all the buffs are coming. And to Matt's credit, he like obviously mentioned all these things and said all that stuff, but there's a difference between like hearing it as you're trying to figure it out versus like really having it click. And and they basically get super tough and super dangerous if you have a couple overlapping buffs. But your basic stone troll is probably like the workhorse or the rock god or whatever they call him. He's got 5 wounds. Has a couple kind of swingy attacks, like a 4-up, 2-up, which do like multiple, I think 2 rand to like 3 damage. And it can throw rocks. The rocks are unreliable. They're like 5s and 2s or something.
5s and 2s.
But if they do hit you, they do like rend 1 or 2, D3 damage. So like,
rend
kind of
2. I got the profile up. We're fact checking in real time, folks. Jack's right. This is scary.
Yeah, you keep me honest because I'm following a toddler on monkey bars. She's not old enough to like be on, so it's slightly distracted. But the key thing with these guys is already tough, right? So they're at a 4-up. 4 or 5-up with a ward save. But of course, if they're under the light of the bad moon, which is ridiculously easy to engineer if you cast a spell or you have like a Skagrat to get in the middle of the board or something, well, now they're a 3-up because they have that +1. So they're already save stacking in a way which is less easy to do for most people now. And they can still have that pocket all out defense, right? So you have these guys and you're thinking, all right, they're good. Well, let's assume for a second they take the troll sub-factions. Of course, the troll player will do. They heal D3 at the beginning of the hero phase, but they also heal D3 every time they activate. And that's in addition to like maybe big guys who have all that stuff, plus healing like just D6, or whatever, in their hero phases, like the Dankhold Trog boss or like the Trug or whatever. And all that just means that like if you don't kill a whole troll, you're not really, it doesn't matter. That damage is basically gone. And because of all of the stacking wards and like the good saves, it's very unreliable to kill whole trolls all the time. And if you do kill a whole unit, you can bring back half that unit for command points from the Loon Shrine. So they're really good and really efficient for what they are. And they're not that expensive. I think it's 340 points for 6 of those.
Correct.
Which essentially is like having 9.
Yeah, I was looking at it. So that's 2d3 healing every turn. Every turn, not your turn, not their turn, both turns. Assuming that they're kind of always in combat, which I assume that's what you're going for.
Exactly. It makes it a little bit wild. And you think like, because of the high damage potential swing as it is, they can stick around and swing at you. if you double down on that, it's real hard to shift it.
Also, because they follow the monstrous profile with the whole rebalancing of attack profiles, they're hitting on 4s, but they're wounding on 2s. And everyone has access to all-out attack, let alone other buffs to get +1 to hit. +1 to wound isn't out there that much, and neither is -1 to be wounded. This is a very destruction armies are scary, man. With all this,
I think bingo, 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 Rocco. Yeah.
Plus, you know, a 2-up to wound.
That was exactly what I was thinking. And you know, honestly, to Matt's credit, when we played, he was doing this to a T. Like when a combat mattered, those trolls aren't 4s and 2s; they're 3s and 2s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a way to get an extra attack through a spell or ability somewhere too. That just
there are. If you have like some of the trolls around, it's either I think one of the things from Trug or one of the things from that like it being in quote unquote the combat range of like the Dankhold will give you +1 attack to all these profiles, which can work on them too. So you can take like even like a Trug and make them super scary. And that's kind of goes back to like the know where your overlapping buffs and your stuff is coming from, because like if you have like that knowledge, you can precision shut that stuff down a bit more regularly. Or if you just don't, if you're on the wrong side of the assumption, you know, you can sometimes make a dumb choice. Like small example from our game. I'm not saying I just like flipped it or anything, but just like for how I would have played it if I did it again, and was just trying to make slightly more concerted decisions. You know, I had the opportunity at one point to swing some stuff at like the Dankhold Trog boss, right? Now, at that time, I didn't realize how close to death he was. Like I had like bad luck in getting like the OE strikes first off of Bellicor. They womp some chose, and I had 5 left. I swung into this thing, so I did the right thing. But like I didn't like follow up into subsequent attacks like the next phase or whatever, because I knew he was healing. And I thought he had like 2 or 4 more wounds than he did. And I thought he had a native ward save, which he did not. He has no ward save. So like, and he's the one who's passing over the +1 attacks to the profile to like nearby Trugs or rock gut things who were in his combat range. And he's the one who just heals D6 at the beginning of every turn if he just is alive. So I would 100% have focus fired him down as an easier target, providing all these key buffs. But I just thought he was like, I don't know, like 50% more resilient. So I didn't think I had the gas. You know? There's a lot of stuff like that.
It's been very interesting how they redistributed a lot of buffs. And this goes into our discussion on list building, which is, you know, like there's a lot of characters that do new buffs now that they didn't do before. Like I was playing a game with this was like a learning game with a guy in my local club, right? We're doing a little escalation league. So this was our 500 point learning game. And I had a mega boss and I had some ragers. That was my 500 points. It was
okay.
And you know, the mega boss on foot, he can give a unit on a 2-up an extra attack to all their profiles. And then in combat, if he activates first, he can on a 3-up give all units in combat range with him an extra attack to all their profiles. And on the turn that you declare an Iron Jaws Wa, all units within 18 of him get an extra attack on all of their profiles.
That's such a perfect example, Miles. Like this little guy, right? Like if you just start playing that army against that army, I mean, right?
Yeah.
The amount of force magnification he does for existing is crazy. Like I feel like it's definitely tuned up like across the board and stuff like this from where it was in third, where like the buffs by an individual little man or something, so it just felt less strong or more minimal or more selective. And if someone doesn't know that character, that 5 or 6 1 character, is literally the epicenter of this challenge, they might ignore him or whatever, and then he does that. And that's the game sometimes. That is the difference. I was, you know, you really just got me thinking about it, because I ran into another one of those examples, which was pretty big, you know, when I was playing against Dylan. You know, I didn't realize that the Bray Shaman, right, or is handing out a run and charge to any of these like you know, Beast of Chaos Bray Herd units, and I didn't realize that any Beast of Chaos could, as Ritual of Ruin, while they were within 12 of a character, to get +1 a wound. So you know, that's the difference between like ignoring the shackles, just going like 12 and then charging, and then with an auto, one of your dice turns to a 4, pretty much going wherever you want to or not.
Yep.
That's
yeah,
like
that'd do it.
It's huge.
Also, fun fact: Zangor Shaman can do that for Zangors.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Zinch,
So they
yep.
at least they're thematically consistent now. We got to give them that.
yeah. No, I'm looking at a Zinch list. I a friend of mine that I DM for Dungeons and Dragons gifted me a bunch of Zinch stuff that he wasn't using anymore. And I'm like, I've got all these Angor, and I can convert up a Shaman on a disc because that is so strong.
Nice.
Just that run and charge ability on even Foot Zangor to just be like, yeah, no, I'm here. This is it. I've got all these attacks, all these buffs, 2 wounds. I've got a 5-up save, but I gave myself a 5-up ward for my spell lore, and I am now an anvil. And I dish out an obscene amount of damage. Come at me, bro.
Absolutely. I mean, also with the redeploy too, you can do all sorts of tricks. It's like, actually, no, this works.
Yep. There's ways. There's a lot of stuff coming up here. It's great.
Yeah. The movement. Oh, I didn't see that coming. Factor is also huge, right? Like, just a number of ways to like get around the board, which are sort of unexpected or offbeat. Like counter charging into an endless spell, or redeploying then charging, or doing any of this stuff in the right circumstances.
What was it? What's that where you push on through or whatever it's called?
Yeah. My
my
Stormcast Chariot can get extra mortal wounds off of that too. Power through.
Nice.
And there's some synergies with it that I'm looking at. I'm in a weird spot where like, for 3rd edition cities, I had access to a lot of like counter charge and this kind of shit, right? So like I understand it, but I'm like I've got these different armies, and I'm like I don't know what to play.
Yeah.
Fellas, I don't even know what I want to build for a list. What are we gonna do about this?
That's a really tough. I think I definitely feel in the same position. I've got like 4 or 5 armies. And it's like, what do I do?
Yeah, I've got everything. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, everything got a new book all at once.
Yeah.
It's true. And I don't know, I find it sort of tough, but also sort of like easy in that I have to stay the course with Slaves of Darkness. So other things are tempting me, but I know I have no real choices.
Okay.
Fair enough.
But I also am like, wouldn't it be fun to have all these other things to have armies for, and I could build and like run because of like what I feel missing, and like whatever I try to like tech out in any given game.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know for me, I've been doing Spearhead more than regular 4th, just because I don't have the endless spells in that I need yet. Actually, did hook up with Mason. He sent me some stuff, bought some stuff off him for endless spells.
Nice.
Because the whole, how they repackaged everything, it was like, oh well, I only had like 1 endless spell from each thing, and I'm like, that's not enough.
I feel for you on that, honestly, Rocco, because my endless spell collection looks like a Swiss cheese based upon this foundational choice that myself and Miles made long ago to split like the original endless spell box because we just didn't think we needed all of them.
Yeah.
No.
You didn't back then, but now it's a whole new world, and they're going to repackage them as like 3 or like per spell lore.
$50 per spell, individual clan packs. Let's go.
That'd be fine. I'd do that. I could, Jack. If it comes to it, we can each buy one of them, and we'll re-split the rest of it.
I think that might be the way. I mean, I was pretty lucky because I have 3 out of 4 of the whatever it is, like the deathy magics.
The morbid conjuration that makes
the morbid conjuration. Yeah, so I use those. I mean,
I think I've got the Gravetide from that.
That's right. That's the one I'm missing. I have the Purple Sun. I have the chains, and I have the detonation one.
Sure.
Oh, nice.
Sure. I've got Quicksilver swords. I've got the Palisade. I've got, I want to say, the Burning Skull, and there was one more because I split something with a buddy, and then he's like, no, dude, I needed the spell portal. So I'm like, okay, fine, it's okay. I wasn't playing Zinch at the time. It was whatever. Then later I'm like, I'm like, well, I was playing Deep They didn't have magic. Now we're a magic faction. It confuses the hell out of me, guys. It confuses the hell out of me.
I get you, man.
It's the old shuffle.
I'm honestly looking at Kronspine in a whole new light. Because
Kronspine solves a lot of problems.
Well, and both of my orc factions have these just single cast wizards who are like, it's like, cool, you're one thing. You're now like, it's like, what's my purpose? You cast Kronspine.
Yep. And you know what? Some armies you got to go that way, where it's like, as a list building tip, if you're not the magic heavy crazy dude, take a Kronspine. That's it. It'll eat endless spells for you.
It seems like the good move. I mean, I don't know. I find that the whole manifestation thing in general is pretty great, but definitely its own puzzle right now. I mean, I was getting some good results out of them, like, you know, when I was tooling around them yesterday and trying to experiment during this event. But I kept feeling like I hadn't like quite mastered that yet, and that I was probably missing some of the opportunity that existed. And one thing that kept throwing me a little bit was the fact that when you set them up, they don't move in the movement phase. So you don't have that immediate, like, my other spell is definitely going to do a thing unless it's one of those statics. It's more like my endless spell will be useful next turn.
Or maybe drop it off 8 inches away or whatever, right? And then you got to wait till, is it your next hero phase? What was it?
It's, you know what it is? It's you can use it normally. I think they actually did streamline it such that how did they put it? I think they said it was, they said you can, you know, like not move things in the movement phase and set up that same turn, right? So the problem is if you summon it in your turn, you can no longer use it in the movement phase normally. And that, I think, is where things get a bit confused, right? Because but for that, you know, you would be just fine.
Yeah.
You know, to do whatever, but instead, like, you always have to set up a moving manifestation that kind of would charge outside of 9. So you have the 9 as charge, and unless you have some native way to get an easy charge, you just have the 9 reroll if you really want to do that. I guess that the way around it is, if you really want to do it, you have to cast your manifestation in the enemy's turn with a counter spell and be prepared to move it and do all that, which is fine, but it's harder with the -1 to do that. About the only like immediate gratification I've seen are the static ones. You just dump them wherever, and they're a hassle for people. They have to kill them, and they can do some wounds. I love the shackles for that, because it gives you a chance to maybe D3 mortal wounds and some movement hassle and movement blocking to like up to 3 things.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna like, they have to kill it or just ignore it or dispel it. But you know, Purple Sun like would be the opposite, right? Where it's like, okay, this thing could be great, but I have to summon it somewhere which is close enough to be impactful, but also not so close it's gonna die to immediate manifestation plus some sort of sniping. And it's hard to get off anyway. So I don't know. It's a puzzle, you know. It's hard to be in the middle with that one.
It is.
It's kind of fun though. It's a puzzle that everybody can play. No, almost not every faction can play it, but most factions can play it.
Yes, exactly.
And the factions that can't play it usually have their own endless prayers, so they can at least do something. Exactly. You know,
poor KO.
Poor KO. Yeah,
that's
pretty
a good
much
point.
Just them, right?
Spell in a bottle's gone, mother. Well, is it?
I think
actually,
so.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it's gone.
You and your hats.
Comment below if it's gone.
Yeah, I'm definitely not looking it up right now. You're right. Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
You know, I wonder if the KO in some way feel guilt for what's happened to the mortal realms with like the Skaven Doom, because of all of those like spell in a bottle, warp lightning vortex, dumping all over the fucking universe.
Yep, we've got Blazebeard and Sons, Drac Hobbler, Mag Bolas. We got the Burst Grenade that isn't even the you know, it roll a 2 up and do a mortal wound. That one's gone. This is the one that removes wards. And then we have an auto unbind as artifacts.
Yeah, so
no
more spell in a bottle. I think everybody else either has a wizard or has prayer manifestations.
Yeah, literally everybody else. Yeah.
Even Khorne, which is so ironic. Khorne is better like manifestation play than KO do.
Should have worshipped the god instead of science. Weird.
We were wondering if they count as units.
Ooh.
which is I think they've ruled it, but I don't know what the answer was
They
because
did.
does corn get blood tithe off of them?
So yeah, because it's weird because it's like for the purposes of like moving them, they count as units, but I don't think they get blood tithe off of it.
Okay, as I was
Yeah.
wondering if my mega bosses power up if I kill one.
There's
Yeah.
some very gray areas on that.
Fair
Everything about
enough.
Yeah.
manifestations is so annoying. I think the thing that I've come down to thus far in my attempt to understand how Games Workshop wants us to play them is that the biggest tripping points are the zero movement ones, which don't count as a unit in terms of anything except for the combat phase. And really only if you just want to attack them. They don't hold you
Yep.
up.
Yeah.
You can move through
That.
them, sit next to them, whatever. And the moving ones do count for the purposes of like deep striking or charging or moving through and all that. But like it gets real,
Yeah.
it gets real topsy-turvy in terms of how to like remember the little differences.
Because it's like it's actively trying to hunt down something, you know. So
Yeah,
but still, you're like, it's weird. It's weird.
it is. I love that we have them, but man, it is another layer of like that complexity.
Yes, yes. We're close. We're close to it being really nice. It's still good. It's
Yeah.
not great, but it's also how do you balance them without points? When like when Mason was on and he said like like out of an almost 90-person event 80 people took the same endless spell lore without even
Right.
seeing lists beforehand because they all went, oh, this is the best one, and then you've got 80 purple suns floating around and smacking people.
Yeah.
It's
No,
true. And continue, Miles.
no. Well, and usually they do such a good job of GW tends to seem to have the philosophy of try to fix it with points first.
Yeah,
Which I think
yeah.
is a good philosophy because you don't want to have to like change what people's toys do out from under them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I really like that philosophy. But yeah, like you said, how are we going to balance these now? Because there are no points,
It's exactly that. I mean, outside of changing the word scroll, which they're way more reluctant to do, there's not like
Yeah.
an easy way.
No.
And they are sort of almost game breaking in a new way because they're free units. They are free units. And so if you have
Yep.
magic and you find a way to consistently summon them, even if you have to be a step back, right? We'll put them like 10 inches back for turn one. No, they're coming in later. Well, there's only so many manifestation banishments. And there's
Yeah.
only so many stray units because there's honestly smaller footprints, I think, of our new army builds
Yeah.
to go and like kill one. So it basically means you have more things on the board. Maybe not the most reliable or the strongest things, but more things on the board that can do something, be somewhere, block something, kill something.
Yeah.
Stop a deep strike or redeploy. It's honestly pretty great. Like,
I mean, have an
but
endless
also
spell
pretty
kill a
dang.
tree, have it kill terrain for you.
Oh yeah,
Why not?
it's
I love
exactly
it.
that.
Go kill that
I don't
tree.
know.
See that tree?
Yeah.
Kill
Make
that tree.
Sylvaneth cry, man. You can blow those trees up now. They don't got a lot of health.
Yeah,
All the
fair enough.
bonuses are attached.
That's very fair.
I could bring that sun back every time you kill it. I can't bring back all my other stuff.
Sure.
100%.
So the original plan for this episode was to talk about list building. We've gotten a little bit more,
Well,
but here we
no,
are. Anyway, well, so let's talk about list building for like 5 minutes, and then we'll
go
wrap
on.
the episode or whatever.
that sounds good. Hey, it'll be a teaser for the next cold open. That's a good way to go. So let's talk about that. I'll throw a quick hot take in.
Okay.
So I think there are a couple fundamentals in list building that now should be part of every list from what I'm seeing. And I'll rattle them off because I think this is just like a thesis which is evolving. Item number one, you need stuff with enough mobility to unlock those 3 tactics, or get to specific places. If you don't have enough things beyond like your core fighties to do that, you are really a couple levels down. Item 2, you really need, if you're not KO, you need wizards or some ability to play this game of manifestations, even if it's just having a crown spine, because otherwise you're essentially giving up a huge amount of your potential and you're just going to give your opponent free reign. Item 3, and this is the one that I think is the newest for me in terms of my thinking,
Mhm.
is you absolutely 100% need a way to reliably and somewhat quickly isolate and hunt down and kill key buff pieces. If you can't, you'll never be able to like shut down the engine of an enemy army, and they are much more likely to do what they want to do and run you over. And that can be that 5-wound wizard, that can be the Scragrot, that can be like the loon, like the loon, not the loon boss, the the Trog boss who's like giving everyone +1 attacks.
Trog boss.
Yeah. But they're huge difference makers. But if you can be like, nope, that's the thing you need to do your thing, you can remove huge amounts of power from an enemy army efficiently. So I'll leave with 3 because 3 is a good number. There's probably more, but let's stick with that.
Sure.
I like that.
I feel like one thing that I've been coming to, and this maybe is a little bit basic, but is really worrying about what goes in your general's regiment.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You want to have one thing,
and
you might not want to have more things than that.
Yep.
That's a really good point because that's a whole battle tactic, which is either really easy or really hard. Like if someone puts, I don't know, like 10 Carrick Acolytes in their general's battalion and they're up front and you can kill them, that's an easy battle tactic. But if it's like 6 rock gut trolls, like what are you gonna do? In many cases, then you can't really do that.
No, and it almost necessarily needs to be a melee unit, some sort of chunky melee unit, probably that you've reinforced. So it can't die easily, right? Because all of those honor guard buffs are really melee tailored. Like the extra rend ones, those are only for melee weapons.
Yeah. The +1 to hit and wound currently can go on shooting, but I don't know if that's gonna stay.
Yeah, like will that survive in errata?
That's really good to go and say, hey man, my Fusiliers are back to 3s and 3s.
Yeah.
Screw off. No other human has that profile.
No, exactly.
Unless you're Stormcast. We're gonna
that is like a huge impact though on the rest of the list building, right? Because that now you're really you're forcing yourself to have more drops.
Also, I want to throw in there for the consideration of you need to have more than one regiment these days, generally, if you want to have the casts and the support heroes and everything we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be 2 to 3 regiments, maybe even 4, to fit in all of the heroes you want to buff your army, to be able to cast these endless spells to compete with these other armies that are these spell doms. Like someone's got like 2 Slann floating around. You're like, all right, that's cool. That's 6 casts. Each wizard can cast for the 3 endless spells, and they're just tied to them. And sure, the endless spells, these manifestations go away when the wizard dies, but they've got the bodyguard unit in there. They've got all these things to keep themselves alive. And you're like, okay, how do I choose to respond to that? And usually it's going to be, you're going to be higher drops if you want to actually fight fire with fire here.
I definitely feel like in the beginning, it felt like the list building was very unrestrictive because we didn't know what we wanted. And so you saw those lists of like, haha, look at me. I can have four bloodthirsters and no one can tell me otherwise, or just silly bullshit. And who knows, maybe 4 bloodthirsters will be a great thing. I don't know. I don't play.
I don't know it's ever been a bad thing, man. All the seconds are, who knows? But yeah, go on.
But I was looking at, I got handed a 2nd edition starter box, and I've been messing around with the Night Haunt from there. So I was reading those rules.
They're really good.
It's very fresh for me. I know I'm such a meta chaser. But it's very fresh for me as a non-Night Hunt player to come in and be like, oh, you have all of these heroes?
As a non-meta chaser, too. How does that feel, being handed the keys to a Ferrari? Don't crash it, dude.
Oh my god! But yeah, I mean, by the time I actually get 2,000 points of them, they'll have been nerfed into oblivion. So
totally.
Don't anybody worry about that.
I mean, that's something with me with my list building as well. Is like for Cities of Sigmar, they finally made it so that the buffs aren't like necessarily all locked racially. Sure, there's some orders and things that if you are of a certain, like elves, you get an extra little tidbit, but generally, the cosmopolitan of it all is there enough.
Okay.
But now I'm like, well, what do I do? Where do I go? When they get their actual book, Are they getting rid of the dark elves for when Malarian comes through? Are the dwarves going to stay or be thrown back to the old world?
Interesting, yeah.
So
Oh my
I'm
God.
in a paralysis there because I'm like, oh, cool, I could really use 20 hammers, and they're selling them for in the U.S. for $90 for 20 of them, so $45 per unit. I'd want it reinforced anyway. That's what I would spend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I've got plenty of 25 millimeter bases, but if they're going to get phased out like all the other stuff for Old World, once Cities gets their next book.
Ooh, that's tough. I do feel like, and obviously I don't know, but I feel like if they were going to phase them out, they'd have phased them out.
I think they won't phase them out too. And I have one good piece of evidence for that, Rocco.
Hit me.
And also kind of a good pivot if they do somehow do this. Okay. I think it's like 95% likely they're gonna release Chaos Dwarves again as like their own faction. Because they keep putting all like these like dark hatchet worshipping magma holes or whatever, like in all
those
the
have been there
maps.
for a while, man. I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, same here, but I figured that'll be the new hotness. It'll be like Skaven 2.0, everything old is new again.
Yeah.
They'll have good new models. But then like they can't really not have the regular dwarves be there. And if they somehow did do that, they'd probably be perfect proxies for them. You already have like a Chaos Dwarf army ready.
Yeah.
They're just like a stealth evil hatchet worshipping city.
I hear you. But I always had a little bit of trepidation being a city player.
That's fair.
Because like my Phoenix Guard got cut too, They've been Blackguard for 3rd edition. And now I'm like, well, Executioners are really good because of how they rebalance profiles. Elves wounding on 4s is a little rough. But then you get to something like, I have access to a Deepkin army. And one thing that I can do with them is be 1950 points, get an extra command point, another list building thing to keep this topical. But also, they have a sub faction that lets all my companions, all my mounts, my beloved Shelly baby girl, my turtle, my Leviathan, get +1 to hit, and all my sharks.
Nice.
So, I can build lists around that as well and still be happy while I still have this question on why I was a city's made. And I'm just sitting here like, ooh.
I know. Now you have a totally new take on it, right?
Yeah.
Changes.
Yeah.
I've also felt, and this was again messing around with the Night Hunt,
please,
a sort of sneaky restriction that came in that I wasn't anticipating being as hardcore as it ended up being was some of those unit type restrictions in regiments based on the hero. So, I've got a Knight of Shrouds on horse, which means the only thing in his regiment has to be cavalry or black coaches. So I guess I need a bunch of hex rates, which I don't, or whatever, but and there's no other way to take him, really, other than just having him be a solo guy in his own regiment alone and sad.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair. It's very fair.
It's that whiplash now of like, cool, I could build an army before. But now, with what I have in my collection and my things, it will take me several months to accrue these things if I'm actively spending my hobby budget, if I had a hobby budget big enough to actually retool my army. And, some players are definitely feeling that right now,
Yeah. And, we knew that was going to happen when there's new list building requirements and that kind of stuff.
Oh, sure.
It's just been, it's been very interesting because on the orc side, everybody gets orcs.
Yeah.
So I wasn't feeling that restriction.
Wow, you're there.
Right, exactly. I think the Tusk boss for the Iron Jaws can only take cavalry, but like whatever.
But your Mega Boss can take
But like Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, he takes any orc, and everybody else takes any orc. So like there really is no restriction, but I know there are other armies where it's like much more hardcore.
So again, breaking this down I'm going to also talk on Matt's behalf as well with Stormcast. So again, they're built in with everything being their chamber. So unless you're taking a named hero, you want those Vanguard long strikes. Guess what, buddy? You're taking a Lord Aquilor, whether you like it or not, because he's the only freaking hero left.
Oh, interesting.
Black Talon. And her generic version of the Knight Zephyros. The Knight Zephyros is gone, and Neve is her own regiment now. So unless you're taking like a named dragon, like now I have to. based on my collection. That was also really like, you know, it was sequitur heavy. It was the magic casting. It was chamber heavy, which is gone now. So it's like, okay, how can I unlock these different chambers doing the Excelsius? How, you know, I've got 4 fulminators that can't go into my city's army anymore. How do I unlock them? You know, I would need the hero on Dracoth. I would need a hero on a dragon or one of the named dragons. And then you get to like, well, we've changed wards around. So the Praetors aren't, they have like a cute thing. Now they're just a 5-up ward save for them and whoever they're guarding. But when it was, well, how do I bring them? Yeah, how do I go about this? The Stormcast have so many heroes that are like, you know, the number 2 adjutant here, right? The knight class of heroes after the Lord. Like, like almost all of them, it's just the Knight Quester and the dude with the flag waving it up are the only extra heroes you can take.
Oh, that's so annoying.
Yes. Everyone else is just their own hero with their own limited, oh, you can take a warrior chamber. Cool. I've got 10 heroes that can take liberators. Okay.
I was definitely irked that for the orcs, the only heroes that could mix, the orcs, was the Ardboy's boss, who is a hero I don't care at all about.
No one does.
And the Killaboss on foot, who is actually pretty decent. And those are the only 2 that can sort of sneak into somebody else's regiment.
Interesting. Yeah, you know, and then like with Deepkin, you know, who we don't necessarily have a lot of heroes, but you know, generally if you're a foot elf, you're only taking the Marty. And then the Cav heroes are taking, you know, have access to everything else. But it's an interesting thing too of, well, if I want to be a 2-drop list and have the buffs that I want, because of the points are a little bit awkward, excuse me, you know, how am I actually fitting everything in with these different heroes now?
Yeah, that's fair. It's a fair point.
You know, because if
Rocco,
I
do I find?
Sorry. No, go ahead.
I was going to say with that, because I feel your pain on it. Do you find that if you look at the different lists, some of them like kind of give you the get out of jail free card with just, I don't know, a big character or like a named one you might have to take anyway, which just like lets you kind of pick whatever you want. So you have like that flexibility. That's 100%. What I think I've been kind of sensing. Okay.
So I would also add one cool thing they did with list building to bring this back to is they didn't tie the command trait and the artifact to your general anymore.
Yeah.
Right. That's a cool thing where it's like, cool. If you have a War Master keyword, they have to be the general. You have multiple War Masters you choose. But that then means if you did have an extra regiment with an extra hero that was, you know, able to, you know, not being unique, could take a command trait and an artifact, they can just have it now.
Yeah.
So one thing I found that I could do in, say, cities is, you know, if I take Dark Elves, one of the extra heroes they could take is the Assassin, which if it's within combat range of a friendly unit, just can't be seen.
Nice.
So, you know, I can give it the command trait of +1 to hit and wound for one of my shooting units. And then I could have, let's say, the Darkling crossbows be on 2s and 3s with like 60 shots out of 20 of them if they don't move. 61 because of the unit champ.
Right.
And they get a rend if they target infantry. You know, and then all of a sudden that's just volume of fire going ridiculously. And then you, unless you've got like an endless spell that can go and munch my hero, cannot get my support piece like Jack was talking about earlier. And I weaved it back into list building. This whole episode makes sense, Miles. I got you. I got you. I got Jack. I got Matt. Matt ain't even here. Let's go.
Oh, Rocco, thank you for helping get us back on track. We did it.
Yeah, so I guess in summation, list building still difficult, still a puzzle, still in fact an interesting part of the game.
It's a lot. I love it.
One might even say pivotal.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Did we get to a good place? What do you guys think?
I think we're in a good place. We're in a good place.
Let's fire off some extra sound effects just to remember so that Matt has to put them in. So, you know.
Oh, sure. Explosion.
Whip crack. You know,
Whip crack, whip
Yeah.
crack.
Let's just
Yep.
state the sound effect so he knows what to put in.
That's it.
Tumbleweed.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Thunder Rumble. I'd love that. That'd be good.
Ooh.
Your turn, Rocco.
Maybe-
You throw a sound effect in.
Okay. Okay. Let's say every time I mention Jack Ballard, have a little sound slip that says, "Hi, it's Jack," from all their videos. You can clip it. I know you can.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good.
Oh yeah.
I like that. I like that idea. Well, with that, guys, let's make sure everyone out there to give yourselves a big pat in the back for showing up to listen to us today. We appreciate you. Thanks so much for coming back every time.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're so inclined and haven't yet, definitely like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your relations, tell your enemies.
Get this cool
make sure
jersey
you're all on the
too.
same page about stuff.
You can't see it, but I'm angled right
merch.
now from my camera where it hits the always strikes first patch, the re-rolling ones patch, and then the patch for my YouTube channel too, all in like the shot in case we have to use this for video.
Yeah.
If they don't put the game up. I want to make sure I was representing everybody.
No, you're looking snazzy.
100%.
Thank you. Oh yeah, no, this love this shit. Love this. It's comfy. There's shorts that go with this.
Yeah, no, I need to tweet out about the shorts because the shorts, I think they make the man in this case.
Okay. They do, you know. And I need a new
I do like the way they match the jerseys.
Right?
No, they actually are really cool. That's the best part of all this.
I had for years this like pair of like just athletic shorts, like basketball shorts that were all like color swatches and they were like rainbowy. And Julia used to make fun of me. They were my rainbow shorts. But so I sent her the mock-up and she was like, if you want rainbow shorts, sometimes you got to make them yourself.
That's a tacit nod of approval. I'll take that.
Yeah.
I think the best I'm going to get is an eye roll, but I'll take it too.
There we go.
Hey, listen, sometimes you got to make your own pot of gold at the end of that rainbow.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Full silent. That's what matters.
Exactly.
Wonderful. But yeah, gentlemen, I think we covered everything we wanted to, believe it or not.
I think we got to. We can just let Matt cut us out whenever he wants to cut us out.
I think that sounds good.
But who's gonna get the last word?
No one. I don't think we'll know until post.
That's true.
You know?
Probably you, Rocco. Probably you.
Oh God, no. Then I gotta say something stupid.
I think he should just cut it at who's gonna get the last word.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah, keep the suspense up.
Actually, I'm weird.